Hi there, I'm Vincent Bos and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing get your ex back after it feels hopeless. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. Subscribe to my weekly support emails. The link is in the description. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing get your ex back after it feels hopeless. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you will likely have a moment that everything feels hopeless. What do you do at this stage? In today's podcast, I'll be discussing 3 situations where a dumpee feels hopeless and what to do for the best at this point. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is it's been so long. So dumpees will often get to a feeling of hopelessness when they believe it has been so long since the breakup. But what does so long actually mean? Well, so long can mean different things to different people. Now, as a dumpee, you may have heard people suggest that you should implement something called the no contact rule to increase your chance of getting your ex back. And although I do believe that you should, as a dumpee, implement the no contact rule, I believe you should implement my version of the no contact rule. Now, there is a big difference here because there are many different versions of a no contact rule that you can find online. And I believe that my version will give you that best possible chance of success. But one of the versions that I certainly don't believe in is the 30-day no contact rule. So if you've heard of something called the 30-day no contact rule, or somewhat similar versions based on 60 or 90 days, these are things which can really affect your mindset regarding the thought that it's been so long. And I don't believe in any of those varieties of a rule. If you want to understand my version of no contact, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, ring the bell for notifications, and check out the playlist on there entitled The No Contact Rule. This is where you can fully immerse yourself in my version of a rule and understand why I believe it will give you that best possible chance of success. But getting back to point number 1 of today's podcast and the thought of hopelessness when you believe it has been so long, this can really affect you, in particular if you have followed a version of no contact that I've just mentioned that I'm not a fan of. 30, 60, 90-day varieties of no contact. If you implement those versions of a rule and haven't got your ex back within that time frame, you're going to be feeling hopeless. But what I would suggest is that you need to live your life in a way where you are concentrating on you and not your ex. You're not clock watching. You're not trying to set a time limit of when your ex might reach out to you. Now, it's important to say, there is no 100% guaranteed way to get your ex back. Nothing works 100% of the time, and nothing fails 100% of the time. And unfortunately, some of you dumpees who are listening won't hear from your ex again. But those of you who do are more likely to hear from your ex 6 to 12 months down the line. That's based on my own research, and that is much longer than some of these versions of no contact that other people are promoting. So if you have followed a 30, 60, 90-day version of no contact and you haven't heard from your ex the dumper, and now you're panicking, I would suggest you need to try and stay as relaxed as possible because you are nowhere near the average amount of time that I see dumpers reaching out to dumpees. So can I guarantee that your ex will reach out? Well, no, I can't. And nobody else can either. But what I can say is that you shouldn't even be expecting this possibility until the 6 to 12 month mark. That's the average as I see it. Now, of course, some of you will be worried that it's been so long, not because you followed a version of no contact that I've just described, but because it has been what you perceive to be a very long time. Maybe you haven't heard from your ex in more than a year. Now listen, we have to be completely honest. From my research, the chances of getting an ex back after the year mark does start to decrease. However, I still see people getting their ex back many years down the line. So what I suggest you do is try to take your thoughts away from a time limit and more about focusing on growing yourself as a person, living your best life and achieving your goals. Because we can't say for certain whether your ex will reach out or not. We can't be sitting around clock watching, checking the time, checking the date, thinking, well, it's been 9 months. Maybe my ex will reach out now. Yes, there is a better chance of it, but it can't be guaranteed. Similarly, if you are 16, 18, 24 months down the line, there is less chance of it happening, but it still might. So the reality is, if you believe it's been so long, I would suggest that you are thinking too much about your ex and too little about you and your journey. You need to be going through self-improvement, living your life to the full, and making new connections. I would suggest moving forward rather than moving on. You concentrate on you live your best life, but you leave that door open. And if and when your ex grows enough romantic emotional attraction to reach out to you, well, you can decide what to do at that point. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please like this video if you're watching on YouTube. And if you have a new hype feature, please hype this video as well. If you like my content, subscribe to the channel to keep updated. And point number 2 is I think they're dating. So today we're speaking about what to do if you as a dumpee start to feel hopeless in regards to trying to get your ex back. And point number 2 can be a scary thought. You are under the belief that your ex-dumper is dating someone new. Now as a dumpee, you might be flooded with thoughts of what to do for the best to try and get your ex back from his position. One of the thoughts that might cross your mind is whether or not it's possible for you to sabotage the connection that your ex-dumper is having with someone else. Now I would suggest that would be a very bad idea. Not only don't you know for certain what is going on between your ex and anyone else, you don't know exactly and precisely what the situation is, but you shouldn't be interfering anyway. Let's think about it in a logical sense. If you try and sabotage a relationship that your ex-dumper is having with someone else, do you think they're going to be happy about that? And if you think you can get away with it without them finding out, well, I would say that's very, very unlikely. At some point down the line, they probably will find out you had something to do with their breakup, and they're not going to be best pleased that you were interfering. Secondly, should you really be doing this from a good human point of view? Now you might think, well, I don't want to be a good human. I just want my ex back, and I don't like this new person dating my ex. Well, if you live your life with negativity will likely come back to haunt you. So I don't think it's a good idea in that regard either. But we must also consider something very, very important. If your ex-dumper is dating someone new, then let's consider their position. They decided to end your relationship. They've decided to date someone new. Do you think that even if you were to affect their connection, that they would even want to come back to you? You have to realize that your ex-dumper made the choice to end your relationship because they didn't believe it was working for them. And the only reason they would ever want to come back is if they change their mind in that regard by regrown romantic emotional attraction. You should be focusing on you and your value rather than trying to destabilize a new connection that your ex-dumper might or might not be having. And I say might not because so many times people misunderstand what is happening in someone's life. Maybe you've seen a photo where your ex is standing next to someone new that you are not familiar with, and you think they're dating, but they're probably not. They may have just met in a social situation and it's nothing more. And even if they are dating, it doesn't mean it's going to last forever. From my research, it's very unlikely indeed for your ex-dumper to meet someone new within the first year or so post-breakup, and it lasts the test of time. More often than not, this will be a rebound relationship which burns out as quickly as it began. So if you find out, or certainly believe that your ex-dumper is dating someone new, and you feel hopeless, I would suggest focusing on you and your own value and almost let that take its course. That might not be nice to think about. It might not be something that you even want to actively take your ex back afterwards. Well, that's your choice. But I would suggest that you can't do anything if your ex-dumper is dating someone new, other than focus on yourself, grow your value, and date someone new yourself. If your ex is dating, you should be dating. Don't focus on them, focus on you. Find someone better. Options is what we want. Choice is what we want. And if and when your ex's relationship ends, if and when they decide they want to come back to you, you can decide if you want to accept them back since they've been dating somebody else and since, hopefully, you've met someone new yourself. Then you can have the choice, you can have the decision. That is what I would suggest you do if you believe that your ex-dumper is dating. Now, if you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. Go to my website www.dateme.tips for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. Talking about your feelings can also improve your mental health. It helps prevent the buildup of negative emotions, which can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. Speak your heart to free your mind. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast. If you feel that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description. And point number 3 is I'm blocked. So today we're speaking about situations where a dumpee might feel hopeless when trying to get their ex back. And if you find out you've been blocked, this is where the feeling of hopelessness can really hit a new level. Now listen, I can't pretend otherwise. If you've been blocked, it's not a good sign, and I can't guarantee that you will ever be unblocked. But what I can say is that I have seen numerous times where a dumper blocks a dumpee and later down the line unblocks them and reaches out. And that is what you need to be thinking about when you're getting concerned that you have been blocked. You need to consider and think that one day you might be unblocked. If you focus on the fact you are blocked, you're going to be feeling negative. If you consider that you might be one day unblocked, then that will give you a little hope moving forward, which will therefore allow you to live your life. And that is what you need to do. You can't dwell on things. You can't try and cheat the blocking by thinking, okay, I've been blocked on this app, but I know there is another app that I can contact my ex on. You can't do that. Do you think they're going to be happy about that? Do you honestly think that they're going to be thinking, yeah, no, I blocked my dumpee on this app, so I'm delighted that they found a way to get through the back door to contact me on another app. No, they're not going to be happy. They've dumped you because they lost romantic emotional attraction. If you cheat the blocking, you are likely to annoy them, so they will lose even more attraction. So don't try and cheat the blocking. If you've been blocked on one app, you've got to see it as you've been blocked on every single app. Even if you haven't, you need to treat it in that regard. And if your ex gets to the point where they do wish to speak with you again, they will unblock you. Maybe they test the water to see if you jump in and message them as soon as you do that, which I don't suggest you do. And then hopefully they will get to the point of where they reach out to you themselves. So if you find out that you have been unblocked, as I've just mentioned, I don't suggest you contact them instantly. Say, hi, I see you've unblocked me. No, you've got to leave it to breathe. It could be days, weeks, months. They might never do it. They might never get to that step of where they reach out to you, but perhaps they did unblock you, which is a step in the right direction, but we can't force the issue. Your ex-dumper needs to grow enough romantic emotional attraction to reach out to you, and if they don't, then unfortunately, they won't reach out to you. But at the end of the day, you should only want somebody in your life who wants to be in it. If they don't want to be in your life, what is the point in trying to persuade, beg, plead, overly reason with someone? Why do you want someone who doesn't want to be with you? Try and think of it that way. You want somebody who wants to be with you, not someone you have to persuade, and certainly not someone you have to force, which is not only bad practice, but also illegal, okay? So you can't be forcing the issue. You don't even want to be persuading the issue. You want somebody in your life who wants to be in it. And if they don't, although it's painful, you can still live your life in the best way, and you can find someone even better. Now, if you live in the USA and want to support my channel, please consider shopping at Calvin Klein using the affiliate link in the description. Calvin Klein is a fantastic brand to help both men and women look great, and feel confident. As a Calvin Klein affiliate, I may earn a commission if you make a purchase at no extra cost to you. Thank you for your support.